Hey everybody, it's Alexander Dahl with Manifest Brutality once again. So we have the next interview ready to go. We'll go ahead and just jump straight into it. I don't really have too much else to say. So here you go. All right, bye. All right, so I'm currently on the phone with Bo. He's another musician that reached out to me about the interview series going on. So I'll go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
Hi, my name is Bo Allen, and thanks for having me.
Excellent. So, Bo, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you first identify with music? What about it was really important and made you realize that you wanted it in your life?
So I was always around music growing up, mostly in church, and then later, and I think I was in probably I don't know sixth or seventh grade. I had a friend that was a couple of years older than me, and it wasn't until he started playing some guitar one day. I was over at his house, and I was just blown away because I really had never heard anyone play music that I was listening to, on the
Mm-hmm.
radio. So it's kind of like the first time that I heard somebody play something, that was current and popular, and it just blew me away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was kind of like the spark that, that ignited my interest in it.
Sure. And so, once you did kind of identify that interest, how did you begin to pursue it?
Well, I asked the same friend I told you about. I asked him. I said, "Can you, ask if he could show me something on the guitar?" And he showed me a little guitar lick, and then I played it back to him, and he was blown away because he did. He could see I picked it up pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
So he would come around every, about once a week and teach me something new. So I just, took it from there and just really just buried myself into it and just spent hours and hours, playing and trying to learn as much as I could.
Sure. So, did you take like private lessons then, or was it all kind of just self taught?
Yeah, self-taught. I was blessed to be around three really good guitar players, and they were all different. One was a bluegrass player,
Mm-hmm.
and one was an old like a finger style picking guy, like Chet Atkins and
Mm-hmm.
some of those older country. And he played some like jazzy stuff, and then the other guy was a rock and roll player.
Mm-hmm.
So I was blessed to be around three guitar players that I got to be friends with and visit, and I would just pick up, what they were showing me. So I was, just exposed, to some really, to a lot of versatile, guitar players growing up, and that's all I needed. I was practicing all the time, so was my own teacher, I guess you could say, because I
Mm-hmm.
just, buried myself into it.
Sure, definitely. And how long would you say, like, when you between when you first started learning the instrument until you got comfortable, writing and creating with the instrument?
Um, I was writing stories before I was playing music, just little short, goofy stories. Um, and then when I started playing the guitar, I guess it was probably maybe a couple of years into my playing that I started toying around with, trying to write a song. And I would write a
Mm-hmm.
song for myself, and nobody would hear it. I would never play it, and most of the time I would just throw these things away, or they would just sit in a drawer. I
Sure.
never really, you know what I mean. I never really thought it was anything that I should even pursue.
Sure. So you mentioned that kind of in tandem with learning to play the instrument, you also are writing stories. Did you kind of use those stories as kind of like a launch board into the kind of music that you wanted to make?
Yeah. It wasn't until later, in my mid 20s, when I was exposed to a community of songwriters who had been writing songs in Nashville and had some songs, on radio even.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I met them and it ignited that creativity in me again when I heard, their songs, and I thought to, well, I used to write songs, and I'm like, I think I could do this. And
Mm-hmm.
when I started writing again, I just had this explosion of creativity that just hit me, and that kind of launched the whole professional, I guess, career,
Sure.
start. Yeah, so that kind of all started it.
So that kind of leads into the next question that I have, which is essentially, once you did get comfortable, how did you go about the process of, deciding what kind of lineup you wanted to have? Did you want to work with other musicians, or did you want to be more of like the solo singer-songwriter on stage?
Up until that point, I'd been in bands, like most musicians, covered bands, and tried a lot of, different things. But when I really got on fire with the songwriting, I started, going studio in Nashville and started. I would go there and cut, my songs that I demoed, and really I didn't have a plan or a thought of like what I was doing. I just knew that I was inspired, and I was trying to just do the only thing I knew, which was at the time just I felt like I needed to record these songs and take
Hmm.
them to the next level, so I had something to play, for someone. And that's what I did, and then I just began the process of just sending my music in to anyone that would listen to them.
Sure, sure. Like radio stations and things like that, I assume.
Producers, record labels, management, anybody. I grabbed the magazine that was a Billboard song, or what was it, Billboard music catalog maybe,
Hmm.
and just would find the addresses to these places, and they'll tell you in there if they'll accept material or not.
Sure.
Um, so I just started circling them off, and I would just mail out a batch, and a few every week, and just cross my fingers until got got a reply.
Sure. And so, with that kind of being the way that you got started and moved into, working on a career, um, where would you say that, you want to see yourself get to? And where would you define yourself presently in your career?
Um, well, I had a short. Well, I don't know if you call it a short career, but I spent 6 years touring on the road with a band, and we were in the process of recording an album, and we had a whiskey sponsor, for a national brand, and we were working with a marketing company out of New York, and in the midst of recording an album with a producer, and that's kind of like where things were heading, but um, things kind of fell apart, and then I took almost a 10-year leave from music. So um, I've recently just, over the past 2.5, 3 years, got back into it,
Hmm.
and but now I'm in a place where I'm really enjoying just doing my solo music, and I suppose I would like to, I've never done a project where I've sat down and really just thought it through and picked out, 10, 12 songs and said, hey, I want to go in with this batch of songs and really do a thought through project.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of heading in that direction. Um, and for me right now, it's just about meeting people, networking, and just enjoying the feeling of being able to share my music again.
Sure, definitely. So you mentioned that you are currently in the studio working on stuff. Where can people check out the stuff that you have done?
Um, I have some things here and there on SoundCloud. I go around and play gigs, and I take a CD with a collection of songs, um, you know, to my gigs, and I sell them. I sell them in person at my shows. I haven't gone down the path of digital distribution and all
Hmm.
that yet. Because it's because the songs that I have recorded, they're like a batch of demos and stuff, and
Hmm.
I think I would like to just wait until I have a finished project. Like I said, that's a little more thought through
Sure.
before I go that extra step of making them available digitally. But you can find me on Facebook under my name, Bo Allen. It's BOALLEN. That's my music page that I have set up. So yeah, if anybody wants to find out who I am or what I'm all about, they can find me there. Yeah.
Sure, definitely. So, what are some memories that really stand out to you during your time touring or working on music or going to see a show?
Um, I got a bunch. I spent about 6 years on the road and toured about 42 different states, and just got to meet a lot of people. But I guess the for music, I guess the biggest one of the biggest memories I've got is the when I was sending in these CDs. I got a reply. I actually got a handwritten note back from Alan Reynolds, who produced all of Garth Brooks' albums.
Hmm.
And he met with me. He said, he said, if you come to Nashville, he's like, I'll take a meeting with you, and go from there. So after about a month of trying, to get an actual call back and get him on the phone, um, that happened. And then in that same, meeting, he picked up the phone and made another call, which led to another call. And I ended up signing a publishing deal. So it was pretty surreal because that
Hmm.
happened because, it all happened because I sent in a CD and I found his, um, address, in one of those books I was telling you about. And,
Sure.
and, and lo and behold, he listened to it, so I'm like, wow, that really does happen, sometimes. So,
Yeah,
so that was a cool memory.
it always kind of seems like with those things, you kind of wonder if you're just essentially just mailing it into a garbage bin.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And that's what I was thinking. But I actually got the meeting and the call and all that. So that was really cool.
Yeah,
Something
that's
I'll always remember.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I always
Yeah.
like to give the person that I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So like a message that you kind of feel resonates with you that you kind of want to put out there.
Um I guess I don't have anything prepared, but I know that the thing that I have enjoyed and learned through the years, I've worked for, record label, and helped mentor artists. And right now I'm a videographer, photographer, and I've worked with a lot of like younger artists and up and coming artists. So I feel like I have a lot, to offer for them, um, as far as, advice and teaching and just sharing experiences, the things that I've learned through the years, and just how some tips on how to, conduct yourself as a musician and how to conduct yourself as an artist and dealing with people and whatnot. So,
Hmm.
um, and I think, I guess the thing that I have learned most of all is find your voice, find your style, and stick with it, and stick to your guns, and don't be afraid to, like, when everybody else is playing, what's popular and all that stuff and getting gigs and they're making money. It's like, it's okay to not have a gig. It's okay to not be making money. If you're making music and you're writing songs and you're diving into your own artistry, um, you're gonna feel so much fulfillment from that
Hmm.
later on in life, versus just playing out, just to be playing music. I think you'll really just thank yourself later in life if you really just develop your own voice and your own style.